Hey, welcome back to the Canadian Podcaster online magazine podcast, the companion podcast to our new online magazine. Glad to have you here. My name is Dave. I'm in Ontario, Canada. I'd love to know where you are in this great big world of ours, especially as a Canadian podcaster. I'd love to hear where you are, what province, what territory. The more Canadians we can assemble, the better right now in our world. And this is our mid-month check-in, and we're going to talk a little bit about the April edition, a little bit more information. We're going to share clips from the podcasters featured here in the April edition of the online magazine. We've got some great new things coming up for May, and we're excited to kind of give you a recap and touch base with you as a listener of the show and a reader of the online magazine. Happy to be here with you again. Thank you so much for the overwhelming support. I know that there are many amazing newsletters out there, some Canadian, some from outside of Canada, for you to invest in your time and to invest your energy into. The fact that you're here, the fact that you're taking a look at the online magazine over at CanadianPodcaster.com is such an encouragement to me and to everybody involved in making this magazine come into the world every month. And again, it's only our second edition, and the response has been great. So thank you. I would love to hear from you. You can always respond to us through CanadianPodcaster.com. Leave us a message. Leave us a comment wherever you're listening on the podcast of your choice, over on YouTube, wherever you are. We'd love to hear your thoughts about the magazine, about the podcast. And if you're a Canadian podcaster, really would love to hear from you, because this whole thing is built around you and elevating the voices of Canadian podcasters from across this great country of ours. We need more and more of us to stand up and do our show, share our voice, share our thoughts, share our views, and raise all ships, right? That whole thing about the tide rises all ships. We need to do that for podcasters here in Canada. And it happens in small little things like an online magazine featuring great podcasters like you. If you want to be featured in the May edition of the online magazine, here for Canadian podcasters, reach out to me. Tell me about your show, and I'd love to feature you in our upcoming magazine for May. I would love to have you here. And we've been picking 3 podcasts every month to feature, and we can always do more. So if we have more people respond, even better. But I want to jump in right off the bat. And let's share with you the 3 podcasts featured this month in the April edition of CanadianPodcaster.com online magazine. Let's jump into this. 3 podcasts that you should check out. Here we go. So our first featured podcast that we have in the April edition of the Canadian Podcaster online magazine is with Josh, and he's the host of ReversABLE. And when you look at his podcast in the link below in the show notes, you'll see it's reverse, and then able is all capitals. I like what you did there, Josh. That's great. ReversABLE, it is a podcast all around gut health and helping you to live a better life and understanding what's happening internally in your body. And we need more of these healthy alternative podcasts to walk us through a more healthier lifestyle. And what I love about this is that ReversABLE will help you with your gut using holistic health healing methods and natural remedies at all stages of your health journey. Josh interviews some of the world's most famous doctors and health professionals to ask them the question, what does your gut have to do with it? Brian Adams, what does love have to do with it? Here we got Josh asking, what does your gut have to do with it? Here's a little sample of the podcast so you can hear what it's all about, and links to Josh's show, ReversABLE, in the show notes. We're sharing the pod link to a show, so you have a choice, whatever platform you want to listen to. But here's Josh from ReversABLE. Here's a little taste of the show.
Welcome to ReversABLE. This is the podcast where I help you fix your gut so you can heal yourself from all other sicknesses or diseases. My name's Josh Dech, and this episode is all about tracking your food and figuring out which ones are causing you problems. So I'm going to go through our main questions today, why they're causing you issues, why you need to track, and all that good stuff. And then I'm going to walk you through this free downloadable guide you can grab in the show notes below. It's a digestive journal to track all your food to help you get this figured out. So the first thing we need to talk about is that I do have my windows open today. It's hot in the office and it's beautiful outside. So if you hear cars, kids are coming home from school and they're screaming outside. So that's fine. You're going to hear that. And that's just the way it's going to be. But I love you guys. So let's talk about why foods cause issues one day, but not the next. First things first, we have what's called IgG. This is immunoglobulin G. Now, this is an immune response that can actually be cumulative and start to add up, sort of like filling up a cup till it overflows. If you have leaky gut, and if you're here listening to this, you do.
So that's Josh, a little taste of the show, link in the show notes to go over and follow the show if you know anybody dealing with gut health, looking for a great podcast that'll help you to live a healthier life. Go check out Josh's show and let him know that you heard about him here over on Canadian Podcaster Online Magazine, the podcast, and you read about him in the magazine. If you go to the magazine, you'll have links directly to his show, and I'd love for you to go support another Canadian podcaster. So that's Josh's show. Let's jump in. What's the next one? It is a podcast that is so needed in our space. It's the Women in Podcasting show, and I would love for you to take a listen to this. This is one that you definitely need to share out with the world. You definitely need to go listen to if you're looking for a great podcast about podcasting from a woman's point of view. This is definitely the show for you, Women in Podcasting. And here's a little bit more about the show. Jennifer is your host, and this is an award-winning podcast, and it's Jen's mission in life to elevate women's voices globally and within the podcast industry. Enjoy interviews, solo episodes, featuring tips and strategies for starting, growing, and monetizing your podcast. Hear from today's top industry experts, seasoned podcasters, and new and upcoming podcasts. Again, if you're looking for a great podcast about podcasting from a woman's point of view, supporting women podcasters, this is the show for you. Here's a little taste of Jennifer's show, Women in Podcasting.
Welcome, everyone, to Celebrate and Elevate. This is our annual Women in Podcasting celebration for International Women's Day. Today, on this episode of the Women in Podcasting show, we'll be featuring some amazing women podcasters and their podcasts, and you'll also get to meet some expert guests from our community as well. We have so many interesting niches and people in our Women in Podcasting community, and every single one of these women and non-binary people have been brave enough to elevate their voice and share their message. It's this courage and confidence that binds us together through podcasting. It's a very supportive community. I'm so inspired by every woman in this group. And we've gathered together here today to encourage and lift each other up in celebration of International Women's Day. So you can find all the links and resources mentioned on today's show in our show notes at womeninpodcasting.net. If you'd like to join our community, go to womeninpodcasting.net and click on Join in the menu. So my name is Jennifer Hensel. I'm a podcaster, author, and founder of the Women in Podcasting Network and Elevating Experts Club. And I'm the host of the Women in Podcasting show, where you can hear tips for starting, growing, and monetizing your podcast and message, and where you can meet other women podcasters and hear their inspiring stories. So in 2012, I was able to turn my side gig into my full-time income, and now I help others using my framework for more flow, focus, and freedom. I love, love, love creating opportunities for women to connect and collaborate in meaningful ways. My mission is to elevate women's voices everywhere. You can find me and my show at womeninpodcasting.net. Now let's meet our amazing guests. We'll hear from VIP members first. Yeah, Elaine Lindsay, come on up.
So there you go. You get a chance to connect with a podcast about podcasting from a women's point of view. So needed. We need more women in podcasting. If you're a Canadian and you're a woman and you're thinking about, well, I don't know if there's enough room for me. I feel like I'm late to the game. There's so many podcasts out there. And, oh my gosh, think about a podcast about podcasting. There's so many, right? But the fact that Jennifer focuses on women in podcasting, I just think it's such a great thing to do. And as well, to come from it from a Canadian perspective. Awesome. So definitely go check it out. Link for her Jennifer show in the show notes here as well. It's also in the magazine. We have a whole page around Women in Podcasting show. Jennifer, from a listener, I know as a male in his early 50s that I'm not exactly your target audience, but I do enjoy listening to your show. And that's the one thing I love. When we talk about podcasting, you can narrow in on an audience, you can focus on your niche, but your podcast is open to anyone. And there's value in this show for anyone listening about podcasting. And I highly recommend you go check out this show. Jennifer has some great topics she covers. And she's been podcasting for a while. It's really good. Definitely go check it out. And her community is vibrant and strong. And we need more. So if you're a woman in podcasting and you don't even know about this show, go follow, subscribe, and share it out with others in your community. Do podcasts from a female point of view. I would love for you to share the show with the world because we need more people supporting Jennifer and what she's doing through the Women in Podcasting show. Definitely go check it out. Another one that we featured here in the month of April is another great podcast you got to check out. If you have anything to do with public relations, if you have anything to do with that field of study or that's your job, that's what you do 9 to 5, and you're like, oh, I wish there was a podcast that focuses on stories and strategies around public relations. I wish there was something like that. How do I find that? And imagine from a Canadian perspective, with an international flair, I wish there was a show like that. Well, wait, hey, hang on. There is, and it's stories and strategies around public relations. We have it for you. It's right here. Here's a sample of the episode where we're talking about what's happening in PR. And I think you should definitely go check out this podcast. They're relaunching with a new co-host for this season, and you got to check it out. So here we go. A little sample. Again, another great podcaster that we get to shine a light on here on the podcast, here on Canadian Podcaster Online Magazine. We feature stories and strategies all about public relations. Here you go. Here's a little taste.
Public relations is changing fast. Best practices, tried and true strategies, they're all being challenged.
And that's exactly what we do here on Stories and Strategies. We explore the evolving world of PR thoughtfully, intelligently.
And sometimes by pushing the boundaries just a little bit.
Or in a lot in your case, Doug.
Because someone's got to ask the tough questions.
And someone's got to bring the research, rigor, and strategic thinking.
Which is why I'm thrilled to say that Stories and Strategies now has a co-host.
That's me, Fazana. I'll be bringing a global perspective, deep dives into communication strategy, and yes, some intellectual rigor to balance Doug's curiosity.
Because curiosity is essential, and so is questioning the status quo.
Fair enough. Together, we talk to the top PR minds worldwide about storytelling, AI, crisis comms, behavioral science, and even the ideas that make some PR pros uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable is good.
So whether you're a long-time listener or brand new to Stories and Strategies, join us as we explore the future of public relations. New episodes every week.
So there you go. 3 podcasts that you should check out. If you've never heard of them, you've never listened, your homework as a fellow Canadian podcaster or lover of Canadian podcasting, definitely go check these out. Go look in the show notes. There's a link for all 3. And then also go back to the magazine and you'll see a full page on each of these podcasts featuring these amazing Canadian voices and podcasts, right? That's why we do this. That's why we're here. Now let's jump into some news from the magazine and some updates mid-month here in the midway through the month of April around the April edition of our second edition of our magazine. Lots of great stuff to talk about. Here's what's happening. As we dive into spring 2025, the whole idea of changing our jackets out to spring jackets, to cleaning up the yard, you know what I'm talking about if you have dogs, and cleaning up and just getting ready, opening the windows. Have you opened your windows yet? And let that spring air into your house. This is my favorite time of the year because I don't really need the heat on and I don't need the air conditioning. I got this little gap, which is kind of nice, where you can just throw the windows open. The days are getting longer. It's getting warmer in the evening. And it's just exciting that we can see the seasons change. I love living in a country where we see the seasons change. And I don't know if I'd want to move to a place where it doesn't change, even though it might be nice to have sun and warm every day of the year. I love Canada, and I love being here in Ontario. I'd love to hear your favorite thing about spring. Let me know over at CanadianPodcaster.com. Love to hear what you enjoy when where you are listening and where you're reading from. That's exciting for me as well, just to connect with you and to see where we go with this great online magazine. Thank you so much for being part of this. The one thing I want to call out is our little mic drop moments. I try to find a quote that is meaningful for us as content creators, as podcasters, to encourage you and to make you think. I love when people make me think. And this came across recently in a conversation I wanted to share with you. It's our little mic drop moment here in the April edition of the Canadian Podcaster magazine. And the quote from Robert Gurish is simply, "You just need one person to listen, get your message, and pass it on to someone else, and you've doubled your audience." Right? Does that make sense? There you go. You got free podcast consulting just from listening to that. I'm looking for you to find out, what is your spring growth plan? How do you grow your show? And I think that growth is a term that we need to define more clearly when we're having this conversation. Grow is more than just the number of people who interact with your show. Grow can be depth of connection with your audience. Growth can be how much your audience goes into your past library of episodes. There's a lot of meaning behind the word grow. And I think that we really need to focus on things that are going to be sustainable when we talk about growth. So that's my challenge for you. And I'd love to hear how you are growing your show this spring 2025. Love to hear your thoughts. There's a SpeakPipe link on CanadianPodcaster.com, and it's a way for you to leave a voice message for the podcast. I would love to bring your voice into a future episode of Canadian Podcaster, because that's why we're doing this. I don't want this to be a complete Dave show, because that's not the point of this. It's about you, and it's about Canadian voices. And the more voices we bring into the show, the better. So please reach out. Use that SpeakPipe link. You can record up to 5 minutes in one recording. And if you don't like it, you can delete it and do it again. And it comes to me in an email, and I can put it right into the show. So if you want your voice right here, then please go to CanadianPodcaster.com, leave a SpeakPipe message, tell us about your show, tell us about where you are in Canada, and let's celebrate Canadian voices. CanadianPodcaster.com. Click that SpeakPipe link. I'd love to hear from you. Some of the tools we have featured in the April edition of Canadian Podcaster magazine include Pod Status, really great way to get your reviews from multiple Apple sources from around the world compiled into one. You can also look at your competition. So if you have an author podcast and you want to see how the other author podcasts are doing, you can see their reviews, their ratings. It'll give you some ideas of where you can go with your show. So check out Pod Status in the magazine, and there's a link right there for you to go check out their website. And some other things we have as far as tools in the April edition include some great stats from the Canadian Podcast Listener Survey from 2024 from Signal Hill. There's a link there for you to go download the free 2024 report. Now, I know it's so retro, it's last year, but it's going to give you some really great insight from a Canadian perspective around the podcast industry. So often, everything we get is US-based, and we have to kind of crunch the numbers and tweak the results to service our industry and our Canadian unique perspective. So head over there and get the Canadian Podcast Listener Report for 2024. It's very interesting, and it's free. So go check it out. There's a link in the magazine for you to go check that out. We also have in there, as far as tools and resources for you as a podcaster, we have Podpacer, and it's a great tool built through AI that will help you with your show. It'll help you with all the different aspects of managing your podcast, managing your guests, your research, and help plan out your episodes. And what I love is they have a free Roast My Show feature, and it is AI-based. It's not a human doing this, just so you know. And you need to make sure, as we've talked about in the past, that you're okay with a little bit of criticism. So, because it's not tame. There's 3 different levels of how rough it's going to be on you and your show. So pick carefully. But as well, if you don't want to do your own show, or you don't even have your own show, then pick your favorite show. Pick that one of those big fancy podcasts that everybody talks about, and put it in the tool and see what it says. It's quite comical, and some of the things it said about my show made me laugh out loud, and made me kind of think that there's some opportunities as well. So there's a little bit of truth in there, but it's AI. So just keep that in mind. But it's there at Podpacer. Check out their Roast My Show feature. Pretty fun to play with, and we'd love for you to check it out. We do also, just a reminder that we have a book every edition of the Canadian Podcaster magazine, because we want to give you resources to make your show better. Now, the resource we have in this edition of the Canadian Podcaster magazine is a resource that I didn't just buy the book, I went and got the audio book as well, because it is such a great audio listen to have the Tom Webster read you this book. Yeah, he's very fun to listen to. He's got a great voice. He's got some great insights, and to have him read the book to you, such a great experience. So I would encourage you to get either or both, like I did. But the book is called "The Audience is Listening: A Little Guide to Building a Big Podcast." And Tom Webster's an amazing voice in podcasting. You can find all of him over at soundsprofitable.com, and you'll find some great resources. I think this is like a must-have book for any new podcaster or any podcaster looking to grow your skills in podcasting. Go check out the links in the magazine to Tom Webster's book, The Audience is Listening. I think that you need to add this to your list of must-read, must-go-through, because there's so much great resources in there for you. And as well, just a reminder too, at the end of our magazine, we always have our classifieds are there. We have some events. That's open to anybody. If you have a bunch of podcasting gear that you would love to donate to somebody, or you want to sell, you want to move some stuff out because you got some new equipment, whatever, that's a great way to help other podcasters. And it's all here in Canada. So we don't have to worry about, it going across the border, if you know what I mean. So that's there as a resource for you. Leverage that, free to post ads in there anytime. Send it to me early so I can get it into the May edition. But if you have something to sell, if you're looking to, if you're looking for jobs, you're looking to hire somebody here in Canada to work with you and work with on podcasts or whatever you have, that's what that's designed for. It's there for you. And the last page of the magazine is if you have any story ideas for the May edition of the Canadian Podcaster online magazine, I would love to get that and get that in advance. So if you want to write for the magazine one time, if you want to write an article or something that's ongoing here in the magazine, please, an opinion piece, whatever you got. I'd love to have people step up and submit to the magazine to feature you, promote yourself, promote what you're doing, but also share a Canadian perspective on podcasting. I'm looking for you. I have a call out to you. And if you've ever thought about doing this, you have a blog about Canadian podcasting, you're a Canadian podcaster, and you have a blog you want to share with us that we can include in the magazine, whatever you got, I'd love to shine the light on you and get as many voices into the May edition of the magazine as possible. So that's the idea. That's why we're here. That's why this exists, is again to raise all the ships in Canada in podcasting by working together and supporting each other. I think we need this, and I'm so glad you're here. So please reach out to me. My name is Dave. CanadianPodcaster.com is the website. We're slowly in the background building out the actual real website for the magazine. But for now, it's a tab on one of my other sites. Go there, check it out, CanadianPodcaster.com. And I'd love to get your feedback. Again, through email, through the SpeakPipe link, through my calendar, anytime. I'd love to meet you, chat with you about Canadian podcasting, and feature you in the next edition in May. So if you know a podcaster, you are a podcaster, and you want to get some free publicity for your show, reach out to me today, CanadianPodcaster.com. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And thank you for being part of this Canadian podcasting community. This is a very important month for us as Canadians. A lot of stuff happening politically. I'm asking you to be active, to get all the facts, and make your best selection as we go into the end of this month. I think that we all have a say, we all have an opinion, and it's time to share that by how we act on that. So that's my challenge for you, no matter where you sit on this whole political spectrum, to be active, share your thoughts, and in true Canadian style, to be kind to each other, to be Canadian, to be loving and caring, even if we don't agree with each other from time to time. We're still all here. We still love this country. We still love being a Canadian. And I think that's probably the most important thing to have in our minds as we go through changes and transitions, and as we see things happening in the world, that we need to stick together, you and I, as Canadians, and build up, again, the voices here in Canada, because this is the most important time in our life, in this country, and the more Canadian voices that we can elevate and support, the better. If you have a podcast business in Canada, if you support podcasters, I want to promote you. I want to give as many opportunities for us to make great selections when we spend money around podcasting for support, for editing, for promotion, for social media, for website design. I want to support Canadian first because we need to stick together. I think it's really important. And we need to focus on the people around us who are doing great things and give them a voice. That's the Canadian Podcaster Magazine. That's why it's here. And I'm so glad you're here to listen and be a part of this. Any feedback that you have, anything, I would love to hear from you. CanadianPodcaster.com. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. And catch you in May for the May edition of the Canadian Podcaster Online Magazine. Thank you for reading and thank you for listening. Keep podcasting.